So it's finally time to review The Outer Worlds.
Better late than never.
Wait. Yeah, just roll the thing.
Fallout 4.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
that's what I'm thinking. It's been some time. We both sat down. We've both played it. Outer Worlds has been out for a little bit. It's a very big game, and I didn't want to rush my experience to fully enjoy the thing, so I didn't.
Really.
No, you really can't. Well, people have been speedrunning.
Yeah, I guess like if you get it and you just turn it on and you play it for like 20 hours and then
Yeah.
just sleep and eat.
And then there's just like this blur of a game that you had witnessed, but you really didn't appreciate what you played.
Yeah, you
But-
could.
Yeah, we both played quite a bit of it. So how much time have you played of the game so far?
I think my save was at like 15 hours.
Okay.
A lot of side quests though, so I don't actually feel like I'm very far.
I'm not kidding. I typically don't do this. I basically completed the game in its entirety. I did almost every side quest besides one, and the only reason I didn't complete it was just a random fetch quest, and I'm already at the end stage, so I beat the game.
And how long did that take?
That took several days. It's not the biggest game in the world, which is why I was capable of doing that. And this might actually be the first criticism for some, but for me, it is not a bad thing. I was capable of going through the world, exploring everything, read every story, talk to every character. I could do all of that, and it didn't feel like there was a billion other things that were left over. So I felt like I got a nice, full experience of the Outer Worlds, which has never happened to me with any of the games that I've ever seen from Bethesda in the past, or even the games from Obsidian. Usually there's just so much stuff there that I don't experience the whole game, and this time that really didn't happen.
Well, I kind of felt that it was a lot more narrative driven.
Yes, it was.
So everything was based around not just the main story, but also the story of the characters and the people that you interact with. Some people would argue like one of the great things about Skyrim, for example, is the fact that you can just go places and do random stuff. So the world is huge, but the downside to that is there are plenty of people that have never completed the main storyline of Skyrim.
That is true. Now, before we get really into it, I just want to mention this is not going to be a spoiler-filled review. We're not going to be talking about any specific plot elements later on in the game, though we may mention a couple things at the very early stages, but we're talking about the first hour or two of gameplay at best.
Yeah.
Don't want to really spoil that much out there. One thing to keep in mind, where typically a lot of the reviews we had witnessed were of copies that were sent out to people early on, it took us a lot longer because we actually got our copies from traditional means. You having purchased it, yeah. And then for me, I had an Xbox Game Pass where the game was basically free. If you find what we're about to say interesting to you in a game that actually matters, I would recommend just getting Xbox Game Pass, and you get a whole bunch of games, and then in a couple days you could just beat this game. So that's how I see this if you spend enough time to do it. But with that being said, what was this game most similar to in your mind?
New Vegas.
Yeah, right? It's basically New Vegas.
It's New Vegas with the squad system from Mass Effect 2 just stapled on there.
Yeah, that's really what this is.
Yeah.
I honestly, folks, if anyone is to describe this game to you without actually playing it, the best way to talk about it is Fallout New Vegas mixed with Mass Effect. And I mean that as well. It's not just the characters that are like your squad that goes with you. You actually have a spaceship. You actually go around from planet to planet.
Well,
but it's done in a way that it's supposed to be like, it's still an open world, but it's basically broken up in these sections, right?
True, but like when I normally hear, yeah, you have a spaceship, I assume you're flying your spaceship. You're really not, though.
No.
Your spaceship is basically an elevator.
Yes, it is.
Like it's like no, that it functionally is. All you do is you go to the cockpit, you interact with the computer, and you say where to go, and then the exit door of the spaceship changes. It is an elevator.
Yes, that's totally what it is, right? You don't actually physically fly it,
No.
which you're right. You
don't even see it physically get flown.
That's true, right? When you get into it's basically like the midway point between going anywhere. It's really smartly done though, because it makes you feel like you've got a spaceship. It makes you feel like you've got control of all this stuff, but it's not taxing to the point where I've seen other games where it's like you have to upgrade your spaceship or you have to do this or that or this. That's not really what this game's about. It's about the characters. It's about the narrative. so you're interacting with people. You will sooner help someone go on a date than you will actually do anything with the spaceship itself.
Yeah, there is no flying it. There's no dog fighting. There's no even, I don't think there's like no commandeering other people's ships or doing anything like that.
No, at no point. I like in my entirety of playing the game, there are interesting story elements that happen. Some possibly involving the spaceship. It won't ruin anything there, but that doesn't mean that anything is actually directly related to the point of you actually having to fly it yourself or shoot things and stuff like that. This is one of those games where if you are not familiar with the Fallout series, describing it, or even Obsidian, or not Obsidian, the Elder Scrolls series, describing this game is going to be very difficult. It is essentially an RPG where the mechanics are not RPG-like. You have a bunch of weapons. It's a first-person shooter, but the one thing that they did on here that's kind of different than what New Vegas did, New Vegas has the ability to literally pause time, really slow it down so that you can do things by like selecting body parts and stuff like that.
Yeah. But that was an addition with the Bethesda 3D Fallouts with the VATS system.
Yes, exactly.
But this game does it a little bit different because it's like, well, we're basically trying to copy what we did with New Vegas but make it better. But we can't use the VATS system because that's very much
definitely someone else's.
A Fallout thing. So they basically are like, okay, but your character has the ability to slow down time, and while you can't like aimbot your way to picking out vital points of your enemies, if you do happen to aim at particular places and actually hit them, different effects may occur.
Yeah, I mean that's really what this is. It's so hilarious. It's almost the same thing, but it's more of a first-person shooter mechanic than it is that. The whole time I'm playing it, I really felt like I was playing something more like Borderlands than I was playing a game like Fallout. Because for me, Fallout is if I'm going for a distance anywhere and I see someone on the horizon, it's like, okay, I've got my finger over the VATS key, just ready to go. But that's not how this works in this game. Sometimes I didn't even bother turning on the slowdown whenever I got into a first battle because I didn't think about it. I could probably take this character out pretty quickly if I just maneuver in a specific way.
Even when I used VATS in those types of games, I found that I didn't generally use VATS for its intended purpose. I found VATS to find enemies when they were nearby, because it would just auto aimbot you towards the nearest enemy, which you can't do in this game because that's not what the system does.
Yes. There is a lot of dialogue, a lot of things you don't actually have to.
Heavy, so
it's all like spoken. Well, I mean, there's like computers and stuff like that you can read from, but there is so much story. That's really what this game is all about. It's the story, but unlike many other games, I mean, if you've played certain games like Fallout 4, you probably expect the narrative to always go in one specific direction. From my early state, you know that that's not going to happen with this. Like, Obsidian has not the biggest world here, but because of that, they were capable of making the game far more specific to how any one player would actually play it. So I saved at a point, I did a bunch of things, and then I was like,
what if?
So I went back and loaded that earlier state, and I did it completely different, and it totally changed the narrative and the story of the game to a completely different path. And I thought that was really cool.
Choices matter.
Yeah,
for
right?
once.
It's crazy because like in other games, especially other Fallout games, if you have like somebody with you and you kill a bunch of people, like they're probably not going to care because they're on your team no matter what. They're a locked NPC to your community, right? But in this game, I was like, what if I killed this person? This character seems to be story specific, and I did, and the whole world just switched around. Like that character was important to somebody on the spaceship, and then everyone got really upset, and they're like, I'm leaving. And I'm like, wow, I did not expect any of that to happen. And the ability to change those things, to modify those things, is only furthered by the way that we play this game. You might be playing this game as a gun-toting guy, or you might be playing this game as like someone that just beats people over the head with a mallet. You could do that. But
you could be a pacifist.
You could be a pacifist. I like to be as pacifisty as I can. Pacifisty, that's a word. I really try to make it as like my first run, I always try to be lawful good, like whenever I can. And when I played this game, I get all my stats into speech, everything I can to just talk my way out of every conversation, like any kind of problem. To the point that when there's like a big portion of the game that's actually pretty, basically end game scenario, and I'm not spoiling anything, but end game scenario, I was capable of talking through everything, like if you really wanted to. So if you do the game well enough in that regard, it gives you those choices.
Mhm.
But this isn't the kind of game where you can just like coast on that. You're going to be running into like wildlife, and you can't talk to like a bear and go, "Don't attack me." Like it doesn't care. It's still going to attack you.
Yeah.
And
So
that was like the way that one worked.
yeah, no, so like generally how I usually end up building my first character, which I really should stop doing because the gameplay ends up being very samey even through different games. But I end up building it as someone that can talk their way out of anything. When they can't, I'm very good on one type of gun, usually a long range gun to shoot you from afar.
Yes.
Just so that you don't get anywhere near me.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're already dead. So then I don't need to worry about having low hit points, low armor, or what have you. I'm good.
Yes, yeah. I totally get that. For me, typically when I'm playing these games, I remove all the melee powers and stuff like this. What we're basically talking about
Never
is
played these games with melee.
Yeah,
I really should at one point in time.
it's just one of those things where I don't know if I'm really going to enjoy that. I did use the knife a bunch of times just to see what it was like, but this is what's so cool about this game and its narrative heavy focus. You've got so many choices at the very beginning to craft your character that when you get into the world, you immediately start doing things where you can just basically completely change the story of events moving forward. And because you get a squad that comes with you and you like attract certain players, there's a lot of things you can do to really modify those worlds. I typically wouldn't want to go back and play a game again after I just played it. Like, it's not one of those things that when I'm done playing it, I feel like I got
But this is one of those games where choices matter. Now, we've had that in games before. We've already compared this game to Mass Effect. But I think the very big difference between how choices are done in Mass Effect and how choices are done in Outer Worlds is that while they do matter to the world, they are not like world and universe altering.
Yes.
Most of the decisions you make is just more so about how other people treat you, the relationships that you build. So yeah, you can kill people and they're not there, and that'd be interesting if they wanted to try and do some weird save import thing in a sequel or what have you.
Yes.
But you can do those things and make those decisions, but the world itself is still going to run.
Yeah.
Even though you're making decisions that you feel like are important. You feel like you're making your mark, and it's not really until like maybe you finish your playthrough and you step back for a moment and you're like, oh, it's just another cog in the wheel in the grand scheme of things.
It can't, honestly, there were points in this game where I was just like, okay, what if I just did this, twisted this a little bit, and I got different results that in some cases were good, but in some cases were bad. And I found that was something that really wanted to drive me to come back. Now, what's really important about this for me, this game, like I said, isn't massive. It's not a huge game. You could probably complete it in a couple of days. You could probably, honestly, if you really wanted to just kind of rush it, you probably could beat it in a day. I think I've seen some people do it.
Well,
wouldn't recommend it.
Speedrunners are speedrunners.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
This game here has a specific feel to it that if you really wanted to, you could go back to the beginning, play it through, and not feel burnt out. I don't think anyone is going to be out there thinking that they had this massive, huge game that was unbelievably huge. You don't want to recreate that character again and go all the way from the start. So this game kind of gives me a little bit of a faster path to do that. One thing I did notice, though, even after completing the entire game, again, no spoilers, there is a world map where you can like look at a bunch of planets and stuff. I mean, it's where you choose to go kind of thing. That world map, believe it or not, still had things locked that I couldn't get to. Now, I looked into it. I did some research online because I couldn't see the path that could have given me a direction to that area. But it looks like some of those planets might be locked off for future content, meaning there's probably going to be DLC here, mission packs and stuff.
But if that's the case, then why was it on the world map to begin with? Normally, if they add in new worlds and things in DLC, it just doesn't show up on the map until
That's true.
Such a thing.
Yeah, I think what they've got here is they actually have narratives that they already have pre-selected or designed to be a part of the world, and they just didn't make them as part of the main story. I could see where certain worlds might have some event happen or something, but it wasn't just one or two places. It seemed to be a couple. So I think that we might be seeing some expansions that come along that drive people back to playing this game, which might be interesting if you have an Xbox Game Pass and this game is only available for a month or two, because does the Xbox Game Pass include all the DLC? I don't think it does.
Maybe it does.
So it might.
Here's another interesting question as well, because you've completed the game and I have not. Is there a New Game Plus?
There is a, you know what? There was a much more difficult option at the end, but I don't know if that was there at the beginning.
Mm.
There was three. There was like medium, hard, whatever, and then there was like a really difficult one where you had to drink and like sleep and eat and stuff like that.
Oh,
But
the hardcore modes.
yeah,
and things
but
like
I don't know if
yeah.
that was there originally.
Mm.
But it's just like New Vegas. It's so close to New Vegas. It's insane. It's just New Vegas, smaller scale, more focus on the characters,
More refined.
and
Better engine.
better. Oh my God. Yeah. If you've ever worried about a Bethesda game just not working because of the engine that they're using, this is the Unreal Engine. It just works. I mean, there are problems here and there. I ran into a glitch once in a while.
There are problems with the Unreal Engine, but the Unreal Engine is like so synonymous with action and shooting games that everybody knows what they're doing with it.
Yes.
Generally speaking, it's not hard to pick up for most developers.
I'd agree. My entire experience from beginning to end, I ran into a total of 3 glitches. 2 of them were visual in a menu, and I just clicked away and went back, and they were gone. And one, I got stuck in a tree. But here's the thing. When I got stuck in that tree, there was an autosave function that loaded, like it was after a big event, and I accidentally jumped up on it was a weird thing. You're not supposed to go up trees. Don't do it. But when I hit the autosave, or loaded the autosave populated me in an area that wasn't tree, so I just loaded out of it. So I didn't have to reset the game. Any other game would have had to reset it. Probably would have messed up my run if I had saved at that exact moment. Typically, when I get into a big boss battle, I save right away, which that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah,
which probably not a smart move.
F5, F9, you're good.
Yeah. So this game is very stable. It's got a cool story. I like the gameplay quite a bit. How about you?
I do, but that's because it's basically the same shooter gameplay that we've seen in a lot of other games, but it's the added mechanics of like the time slowdown and how the different builds of your character slightly change things that make it interesting.
I agree. If you like Fallout New Vegas, if you like Fallout, but really, really like Bethesda's kind of earlier implementation of the Fallout 3 kind of stuff that eventually led to New Vegas, you might really like this game. If you're a fan of Obsidian, you're really going to like this game. If you're a fan of Mass Effect, don't expect the same kind of combat mechanics. You're not really going to get that
Not
here.
even the same really kind of world.
Yeah. But if you're into the idea of flying around a star system with a group of people that you've collected, that might be really cool. In fact, if there's one thing that this game does very well that Mass Effect doesn't do all that great, Mass Effect kind of throws you into that world. And in this game, you make your crew, you collect them, you find them, right?
Yeah.
And that makes you feel a little bit more...
Mass Effect's a lot more of a sterile experience, while
Yes.
this is more rough around the edges kind of
Absolutely.
narrative.
And by the way, at any point, if you want, you can just tell these people to get lost. Like
you can.
Yeah. And
you don't even have to tell them to come.
Yeah.
Like every time that I've ran into one of these, one of the people that you can bring onto your squad, there's always an option to say, yeah, no, go away.
Yeah.
It's very obvious that they're saying, yeah, I'm going to join and become a member of your crew and everything. And you'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Go away.
It kind of works that way.
I don't want you.
And
I did that with one of them, actually, because I didn't like them. I was just like, you've done nothing. You've sent me on 3 fetch quests, and now you want to join my crew? No, get out of here.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, folks, what do you think about these kind of games? Are you excited about trying this game out? Have you already played it? Let us know what you think in the comments below.